You know, paying for college, it can feel like you're trying to solve this impossible puzzle, totally in the dark. But what if you had a clear, step-by-step guide? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do right now. We're going to turn all that financial aid anxiety into a confident, actionable plan. Let's get started.
So, here's the game plan. We're going to tackle this in 5 key steps. First, we'll crack the code on college costs. Then, we'll dig into the one key equation that drives everything. After that, we'll master the FAFSA form, learn how to decode those aid offers, and finally, talk about how to keep that aid flowing all the way to graduation. So, let's dive into part 1.
All right, first step, let's crack the code on college costs. And the very first rule, the biggest mistake people make, is getting hung up on the sticker price. Trust me, the number you see on a college website is almost never the number you'll actually pay.
So you're scrolling through a college website and bam, you see a number like this, over $41,000 for just 1 year. And yeah, your heart just sinks, right? It's that sticker shock moment. It can make a dream school feel totally impossible. But just hold on, because that number is not the whole story.
So, the big question, right? How in the world do you actually pay for this? Well, the answer isn't writing one giant check. It's all about bridging the gap with 2 very different kinds of financial aid.
Okay, so all financial aid, and I mean all of it, falls into one of 2 big buckets. On one side, you've got gift aid. Just think of this as free money. These are the grants and scholarships that you never ever have to pay back. And on the other side, there's self-help aid. This is stuff like loans that you have to repay or work-study jobs. The goal always is to get as much as you can from that first bucket.
But how do colleges decide who gets all that good stuff, that free money? Well, it all boils down to this one single formula. Let's take a look at the key equation that determines your financial need. It's the thing that unlocks everything.
The first piece of our puzzle is something called the cost of attendance, or COA for short. Think of this as the college's total all-in price tag for 1 year. Every single school has a different COA, and it always includes a lot more than just tuition.
So the COA itself splits into 2 parts. You've got your direct costs. This is the actual bill the college sends you for things like tuition, fees, and if you're living on campus, housing and meal plan. But then there are the indirect costs. These are your own estimates for all the other stuff you'll need, like books, supplies, and just getting around. Both of these are part of that total cost.
Now for the second part of our equation, the Student Aid Index, or SAI. This is a number that gets calculated after you fill out your financial aid forms. And now, this is super important. The SAI is not the amount of money you have to pay for college. Not at all. It's simply an index, a measure of your family's financial strength that colleges use to figure out how much aid you're eligible for.
And here it is. This is the magic formula. The whole system runs on this. The college takes its cost of attendance, they subtract your student aid index, and whatever is left over, that's your official financial need. That number is the whole ballgame. It's the gap that the financial aid office is going to try to fill for you.
Which brings us right to Section 3, Mastering the FAFSA form. And look, I know, nobody loves filling out forms. But please don't think of this as a chore. Think of it as your single most powerful financial tool in this whole process. It's the key that unlocks pretty much everything.
The whole thing follows a pretty predictable schedule. Before October even starts, both the student and a parent need to create something called an FSA ID. Then, on October 1st, the starting gun goes off and the FAFSA opens. You'll get your award letter sometime between December and April, all leading up to that big decision day on May 1st. So get these dates on your calendar. Seriously, put them in your phone right now. Now, when you're filling out the FAFSA, they're going to ask about assets, and you have to be accurate. You'll need to report what's in your cash and savings accounts, the value of any investments you have, like stocks or bonds, and, if you have one, the balance of a 529 plan for the student who's applying.
But honestly, what's maybe even more important is knowing what you should not report. This is where so many people get stressed out for no reason. You do not report the value of the house you live in. You also don't report retirement accounts, so your 401k or IRA is safe. Same goes for life insurance policies and personal stuff like your car. Oh, and right now, you also don't report 529 plans that belong to siblings or grandparents.
Okay, but what happens if life throws you a curveball? The numbers you put on your FAFSA are from a past tax year, right? What if things have changed? If you've had a job loss, a big drop in income, or huge medical bills, you are not stuck. You can, and you should, contact each college's financial aid office and ask for what's called a professional judgment review. It lets them see your situation as it is right now.
Okay,
Deep breath. You've done the work, you've filed the FAFSA, and now the offers start rolling in. This brings us to Section 4. It's time to decode those aid offers. This is where you switch hats from being an applicant to being a really savvy consumer, trying to figure out who's giving you the best deal.
So when you get that award letter, it helps to know where all this money is actually coming from. The biggest player by far is the federal government. They provide the most student aid. But colleges themselves give out a huge amount of their own money called institutional aid. And then you have state and private sources rounding it out.
Now, your offer will probably include some federal loans, but you gotta know, not all loans are created equal, not even close. If you get a subsidized loan, that's the good one. It's based on need, and the government pays the interest on it for you while you're in school. But with an unsubsidized loan, that interest starts building up from day one, and that one little difference can end up costing you thousands more in the long run.
So, when you've got these different award letters in front of you, how do you compare them apples to apples? It's actually a simple three-step process. For every single offer, do this. First, find that cost of attendance and subtract all the free money, the grants and scholarships. Second, look at the loans and work study they're offering you. And finally, calculate what's left. That final number, that is your true out-of-pocket cost. And that's the number you should use to compare your offers.
Okay, so you've made your decision, you've accepted your aid package, you're all set, right? Well, not quite. Our final section is about something that's just as important, actually keeping your financial aid all the way through to graduation day. Look, even with a fantastic aid package, there might still be a gap between what you're getting and what you owe. So what do? Well, you've got a few options. A lot of colleges offer interest-free monthly payment plans. That's a great place to start. After that, there are federal Parent Plus loans, or you could look into private student loans, but those will probably need a cosigner. Just always remember that any loan adds to the total cost.
And to make sure all that great financial aid keeps coming year after year, you just have to do three things. Think of it as your annual check-in. First, you have to file the FAFSA every single year. It is not a one-and-done thing. Second, you have to make what's called satisfactory academic progress, which really just means you got to pass your classes. And third, if you've got scholarships, make sure you keep the GPA you need to renew them.
And through all of this, please remember, you are not on your own. As one expert perfectly put it, financial aid is a community service. The people who work in those offices, they are there to help you. Don't ever be afraid to pick up the phone and ask them questions. They're your best resource.
Look, I know this whole financial aid journey can feel massive. It can seem really intimidating from the outside, but it's not a giant monster. It's just a series of small, manageable steps. And now you have the roadmap. You know how to navigate it with confidence. So the only real question left is, which college door are you going to unlock?